The Hasselblad X2D II is the company's flagship medium-format mirrorless camera, representing a blend of tradition, precision, and cutting-edge innovation. Photographers who pick up this camera often expect not only impeccable image quality but also modern focusing technologies that make it competitive in dynamic shooting situations. One of the major additions in the second generation of this body is continuous autofocus, often abbreviated as AF-C. Yet, many photographers unbox their new Hasselblad X2D II, mount their favorite XCD lens, and immediately discover that continuous autofocus appears unavailable. The option is grayed out, accompanied by a discouraging message, autofocus continuous not supported by lens firmware version. This situation can be confusing, especially for users accustomed to brands like Sony, Canon, or Nikon, where autofocus updates and compatibility are straightforward. In this detailed guide, I will break down exactly why this happens, which lenses support AF-C, how firmware plays a central role, and how to update your lenses to take advantage of this crucial new feature. By the end, you will understand not only the technical requirements but also the reasoning behind Hasselblad's design choices, helping you avoid frustration and make the most of your X2D II. Why AF-C matters on the Hasselblad X2D Autofocus Continuous, or AF-C, is a focusing mode where the camera continuously adjusts focus as a subject moves. This is essential for tracking people, animals, or objects that don't remain static. In portrait photography, it ensures that the subject's eyes stay sharp even if they lean forward slightly. In lifestyle shoots, it keeps up with a model walking across the frame. For documentary or street photographers, it allows them to respond to fleeting moments without constantly refocusing. Historically, Hasselblad has been associated more with deliberate, carefully composed photography rather than fast-moving action. Studio setups, landscape images, and fine art prints were the natural domains of medium-format systems. However, today's market demands versatility. A modern high-resolution camera must also provide responsive focusing modes to compete with full-frame systems. The introduction of AF-C on the Hasselblad X2D II is therefore a significant step. It signals that Hasselblad wants to serve not just traditional users but also a younger generation of photographers who demand fluid performance, while retaining the legendary image quality of medium format. The initial frustration, why AF-C appears grayed out imaging in this common scenario. A photographer buys the X2D II, mounts the XCD II 38 lens, powers on the camera, sets it to aperture priority mode, and starts experimenting. When they attempt to switch from AFS autofocus single to AF-C, they find that the continuous mode is unavailable. Instead, the option is grayed out with a message indicating that the lens firmware does not support it. This is understandably frustrating. After all, the body supports AF-C. Why wouldn't the lens automatically work? The answer lies in the relationship between the camera's new autofocus algorithms and electronics inside the lenses. The role of lens firmware. Each XCD lens contains not only optics, but also electronic components that communicate with the camera body. These include motors for focusing, firmware for interpreting commands, and calibration data. When Hasselblad introduced AF-C with the X2D II, the camera body gained the ability to perform continuous autofocus. But for this system to function smoothly, the lens firmware also had to be updated so that it could respond to the new instructions from the body. Without updated firmware, the lens simply does not understand the commands for continuous autofocus. It can still perform AFS because that protocol existed before, but it cannot follow the new continuous instructions. Thus, AF-C appears unavailable until the lens is updated. Hasselblad's official FAQ on AF-C compatibility. To avoid confusion, Hasselblad published an extensive FAQ addressing AF-C compatibility. The document lists which lenses support AF-C once updated and clarifies the requirements. According to the FAQ, the following lenses currently support continuous autofocus: XCD II 35-75 zoom, a versatile lens in high demand among photographers; XCD V series primes, including the 38 volts, 55 volts, and 90 volts XCD 4/28 compact wide-angle; XCD 3.275p, a portrait-friendly prime. These are either newly released lenses or lenses updated with recent firmware. Hasselblad designed them with fast enough motors and the necessary internal logic to handle continuous autofocus operations. Older lenses in the XCD line may not yet support AF-C, or they may require firmware updates to enable the functionality. The key takeaway is that support is lens-specific and depends on both hardware and software readiness. Firmware requirements and the update process to enable AF-C. Photographers must install the latest lens firmware. Hasselblad makes these firmware packages available on its official website in the Downloads section. Each lens has its own update file, and the latest versions are clearly listed. For example, in the demonstration provided, the XCD II AF-C lens required version 1.9.7 to unlock AF-C. The process is straightforward. 1. Download the firmware update from Hasselblad's official website. 2. Copy the update file to a compact flash express Type B card. 3. Insert the card into the camera. 4. Navigate to the Settings menu, then to General, followed by Service. 5. Select Lens Firmware Update. 6. Choose the correct file for the lens mounted on the body. 7. Confirm the update and let the camera install the firmware. The process typically takes only a few minutes. Once completed, the camera displays a confirmation message, "Update succeeded," ready to be used. At this point, AF-C should become available when selecting focus modes. Important caveats: while AF-C works with updated lenses, there are two important caveats. 1. Electronic shutter limitations. The AF-C is not available when the electronic shutter is active. This is a limitation imposed by the way the camera processes continuous focus data. Mechanical shutter use is strongly recommended for continuous autofocus performance. 2. Firmware dependency. Even if your lens appears in the supported list, it must have the latest firmware version. Without updating, AF-C will remain grayed out. These limitations are not unusual. Many camera manufacturers introduce new features gradually, and compatibility often depends on both body and lens firmware working in tandem. Why Hasselblad handles it this way? Some may wonder why Hasselblad didn't design AF-C to simply work with all lenses automatically. The answer lies in the precision demands of medium format photography. Unlike smaller formats, medium format sensors capture immense detail. Misfocus by even a fraction of a millimeter can ruin an image. Therefore, Hasselblad prefers to certify AF-C functionality lens by lens, ensuring that motors, communication protocols, and focusing algorithms meet their exacting standards. This cautious approach prioritizes accuracy over speed. While it may frustrate photographers seeking instant plug-and-play functionality, it ensures that once enabled, AF-C operates with the reliability Hasselblad users expect. Real-world example. Testing with the XCD II AF-C lens. After updating the firmware of the XCD II AF-C to version 1.9.7, the photographer revisits the focusing menu. This time, AF-C is available. When switching into continuous mode, the camera can now track a subject such as a model sitting or moving slightly in front of the lens. The practical benefit is clear. In portrait sessions, where a model might shift positions, AF-C maintains sharpness on the eyes without requiring the photographer to constantly refocus. For environmental portraits outdoors, the system can adapt as the subject moves closer or farther. While the Hasselblad may not yet rival the rapid subject tracking of Sony or Canon's flagship full-frame cameras, it represents a meaningful evolution in medium format usability. Recommendations for photographers: if you own or plan to purchase the Hasselblad X2D II and wish to use AF-C, follow these recommendations. Check Hasselblad's official FAQ for the current list of compatible lenses. Verify the firmware version of your lenses before assuming AF-C isn't supported. Perform firmware updates for each lens individually. Avoid electronic shutter if you intend to use continuous autofocus. Be patient with the performance. Remember that Hasselblad prioritizes image quality over speed. Following these steps will ensure you get the most from your system without unnecessary frustration. Looking ahead, Hasselblad has shown a willingness to expand functionality through firmware updates. It is reasonable to expect that more XCD lenses will gain AF-C support in the future. Photographers should keep an eye on official announcements and download pages for updates. Additionally, the company may refine AF-C performance further, improving subject tracking and reliability as algorithms mature. The X2D II represents a long-term investment, and like other premium digital systems, it is designed to evolve through updates. The introduction of continuous autofocus on the Hasselblad X2D II marks a pivotal moment in the brand's evolution. While initial experiences can be confusing due to lens firmware limitations, the solution is straightforward. Update your lenses and confirm compatibility. Once this is done, AF-C becomes a powerful tool, opening new creative opportunities for portrait, lifestyle, and documentary photography. Do not be discouraged if you encounter the message that continuous autofocus is not supported by your lens firmware. Instead, treat it as a reminder that Hasselblad is gradually rolling out support to ensure the highest standards of precision. By keeping your firmware up to date and understanding the system's requirements, you can unlock the full potential of your X2D II and enjoy medium format photography with modern autofocus capabilities.